Hi, my name is Andrew Taylor and welcome to the video. Thank you for watching. Today I wanted to talk to you guys about some issues that I'm seeing related to waterfall style management in an agile world. What this really means to me is when you have leadership that really kind of grew up, maybe they were PMs in the corporate world before, maybe they have some project manager experience or manager experience, but it was really around before Agile. They were doing what they were doing back in when waterfall was the big thing, and that's how you were a project manager, and that's how you managed, and that's what you did. And they're really kind of stuck in that mentality. It's nothing against them. It's nothing they're doing maliciously or anything like that. It's just a mindset that they're in, and it can actually cause some repercussions and waves into the team. Actually, across an entire company if they're high enough up and they have enough impact on things like that. Myself personally, I have seen VPs and executive directors and folks like that get involved at a very detailed level. I've also seen some that I've actually never talked to, even though I reported up to them, through 2 or 3 people. I never talked to them at all. Some I've talked to almost every single day. So it really just kind of depends on their management style and what they bring to the table. But specifically what I wanted to talk to you guys about today was the ones that are very waterfall mentality, very planned out, very methodical around things, and they want to know when stuff's going to be delivered. And they'll take any status support you give them as set in stone because that's how Waterfall did it. You sat down, you planned, you said, here's the plan A through Z, A through Q, whatever, and here's how it's going to get chunked out and done. Well, if you do that today in Agile, that's a nice plan, and that's a nice roadmap to have. However, we all know that's not what's going to happen. There's going to be things that come along the way, and there's going to be other things that change. And if that management team is still expecting this hard and fast roadmap to be followed, it's going to cause some problems and it's going to cause some issues. So that's what I want to talk to you guys about today. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump on into that. So the first thing I want to talk about is kind of what is Agile supposed to look like? What's the baseline for it? And this may be a little repetitive, a little redundant for most of you guys, and I apologize for that, but I'll try to keep it short. So the benefits of Agile is it's fast, it's focused, and it's flexible. Kind of 3 F's there. It's fast, fail fast, succeed fast, figure out what the heck you're doing, if what you're doing is actually going to work. And if it's not, go do something else. Go try out a different solution. Don't spend months and months and months on something that's not going to work out in the end. That's the benefit of Agile. That's really the real meat to it, if you will. It's focused. And what I mean by that is you're able to sit down for a week or 2 weeks or however long your team sprint is and focus on a set of deliverables and really get those cranked out and get those done in a really great manner. It allows you to kind of time box and say, okay, 2 weeks, boom, go, let's get it done. Anybody can focus on work for 2 weeks for anything specific, even if it's something they don't want to do. So it's kind of one of those great benefits that plays on, mentality of people of, give them something to do if they don't like, even if they don't like it, and in 2 weeks they can go work on something else kind of thing. Or they can work on a different piece of something that they do enjoy to do. So it's one of those things where it kind of just helps, in my opinion, keeps the team focused, focus. And it helps with keeping the morale up by kind of bouncing work around if needed for specific folks, or changing up the work, if you will, in a good way. You're not just going to stop in the middle of the sprint though and say, hey, you know what, you're done, congratulations, go work on this over here now. You have no idea what it is or anything like that. No, that's not what it is. Again, it's focused. You define out the work, you plan it, and you make sure that you're getting done what needs to be done as well. And it's flexible. And again, when I say flexible, is you kind of got to take it with a grain of salt. Let's say you're working on something for 2 weeks and it's the top priority and it needs to get done absolutely right now, and it is without a doubt the most critical thing for the company. Well, in 2 weeks, something happened. Some other team found something, it's not going to work, it's a big issue for them. This has now completely fallen on the floor and nobody needs it. Cool. 2 weeks. That's it. That's all it was. It might have been wasted, might have not worked, but hey, it was only 2 weeks. So now you can be flexible. Now you can go to something else. Now you can go focus on whatever the next big thing is that hopefully isn't going to fall on the floor and most likely won't. This is a once in a blue moon, once in a long time kind of thing where you're going to have something completely fail like that. But the other more applicable situation for that is, let's say you want to implement a new system and you start working on it and you're going down the path of, well, let's get this piece of it built, and you get halfway there and all of a sudden you're blocked by something. Let's say another company, you didn't get your shipment, things like that. Well, guess what? Next sprint you can switch over and you can then go work on another aspect of it, right? So this piece over here is blocked, but now you're able to move and focus on this. Well, with Waterfall, it doesn't always work out that way. With the way Waterfall was built, it's much more, piece by piece by piece. It's great for building buildings. You're not going to build the 100th floor first. You're probably going to do the foundation in the basement, right? But for more agile environments, it just is a little more tedious and a little more painstaking, especially when you're in a field that bounces around quite a bit. I'm in software development, and we're constantly changing. We're constantly changing our focus and our direction. Again, not in the middle of our sprint, not in the middle of our working period. However, we're able to adapt and we're able to move and pivot a lot faster than other teams that are running waterfall style operations. So that's kind of the short and sweet version. There's a lot more to it than that. So by listening to me, you are in no way, shape, or form an agile expert. But I just want to kind of give the key pieces there. Next, I kind of want to talk about what those waterfall mindsets of leadership can do to an agile team, and kind of what are some of those asks that you'll see from those waterfall leaders. So one of the first issues that these leaders could unintentionally cause with their mentality is something kind of along the lines of whirlwind. And before I kind of get into what whirlwind they can cause, I'd like to define whirlwind. And so what I mean by that is unplanned work. Really, that's kind of what it boils down to. It's the work that comes in, and sometimes it comes in the form of an issue, an outage, a problem the team has to go solve, something that was not foreseen. Something happened in the software development world. Your application can go down, can crash because another team did maintenance. So you got to go fix that. You got to figure out what's going on. That's whirlwind. But it can also happen with these leaders when the leaders want to really have their kind of finger on the pulse of everything that's going on. And they want to know almost daily the potential risks, the potential problems. Have we shifted to the left? Have we shifted to the right? What's the date? What's the latest on this? It's nothing that's really unrealistic. It's nothing that they're asking for that is completely out there and off the wall. Of course they want to know what's going on. They want to make sure their team's being productive, but it can come in the form, or sometimes it can manifest itself in ways that aren't actually beneficial and effective for an agile team. And what I mean by that is, if you ever see one of the leaders asking for daily updates, specific daily updates, not just saying, show me a status report or something like that, but saying every single day, checking in, hey, where are we at with this? Hey, where are we at with this? And then asking 10 or 12 follow-up questions. That's great. I'm glad they're involved. I'm glad that they're helping that way, but you have to be careful that it doesn't tump over and fall into the team where you have your technical lead, you have your most experienced people working on a problem that needs to be resolved, but at the same time, you're also needing them to answer questions for this leadership. That's kind of what I mean by the whirlwind and what's going on there. But the other things that it can cause is additional paperwork. It could also cause new status reports to need to pop up. So these can affect multiple teams. Let's say there's multiple groups working on a single issue or a single program, a single item, and that leader kind of oversees all of them, and he wants to know, or she wants to know every week what's the status, where are we at, even if there's nothing really to report, even if there's not a lot of change. That can cause whirlwind in the fact that you're pulling people away, like I said before, and it's also just going to take time away from your planning as a project manager. It's going to take time away from your scrum ceremonies. It's going to take time away from your ability to go remove blockers to help with issues, to help basically plan and make sure that the team is ready to pick up the next work as soon as they get done with what they're doing now. That can be a headache. At first, it might not seem like it's that much, but over time, it could keep adding up and piling on. You have one report here, and then you have another report there, and then soon you find yourself spending 80% of your day doing reports. It's not very helpful to the team, and it's not very helpful to your organization as a whole to be doing that on a daily basis. A lot of other stuff that I get to, more than just on the daily status, is what's the date? What is the date? When is it coming out? When's the date for this issue being resolved? When's that team going to have their problem fixed? It's always about what's the date, and I get that. You want to make sure that stuff's moving forward appropriately and things like that. But my problem with this specifically that I see is when people ask for that date, they're really taking that date as set in stone. We all know in Agile that things can change. New discoveries can be made hours later and completely change the status, either for good or for bad. It could be shortened, the date could be brought in by a week, or it could be let out by a week because, hey, this is a lot more complex than we thought. There's a lot more to this. So having to constantly answer what is the date causes an issue as well, because with the waterfall mentality, dates are set in stone. And if a date moves, generally, more than likely, it's going to move out, right? It's not going to be done quicker. 9 times out of 10, it's going to be done later. So when that date moves out, well, now you have an issue. Well, I thought you said it was going to be in 2 weeks. Now you're telling me it's going to be a month. Yeah, I did. We're blocked. We have an issue. But hey, the cool thing about Agile, we can pivot. Let's go work on something else. Let's go do something else. Maybe go do another side project that needs to get done. Maybe go do something, another part of the project you're currently working on while you're waiting for this other issue to be resolved. But the problem is that a lot of these leaders just have that mentality where, okay, well, we're blocked. Everything's blocked. No, that's not true. So just be on the lookout for those things, because those can really cause a lot of whirlwind and can cause a lot of headache for the groups. As the project manager, though, I kind of want to talk to you guys about how can you really mitigate and how can you really absorb that impact? Or how could you even kind of bypass these things and keep these kind of things from happening? Be proactive in keeping your leadership from kind of derailing and spinning up your team into unnecessary work. So stay tuned for that. How do you mitigate these problems? How do you keep them from impacting the team and becoming a major issue? How do you keep the team focused and not having to always do status reports? Well, the first thing is you're not always going to be able to. You're going to have leaders that come in and they have to know this information. They want to know. Maybe they're giving a report out to their bosses. It's always a good idea to make your leaders look good. So if they need to look good to their bosses, by all means, help them out. In that kind of situation, what I would recommend is try to do as much as you can yourself. If it's something that you're very familiar with, you've been working with the team very closely on, you're probably going to be able to fill out 75, 80, 90% of the information yourself, and then go to your tech lead or go to your kind of person with the most knowledge on the domain you're talking about or the issue you're talking about, and have them fill in the rest and kind of do a little proofreading and fact checking to make sure that you have it completely straight. This can really reduce the amount of time that lead has to work on it, from anywhere from 5 hours to, they could go down to only having to work on it for 30 minutes. It's a huge benefit, because I don't know about you guys, but I would much rather have my technical guys solving technical problems than working on reports, working on statuses and things like that, because they're going to be able to fix a lot more things than I can during that time, I'll tell you that. So that's one good way to help. The second good way to help is if you're seeing a lot of these kind of things come in, talk to your leader. Especially if they have a direct line to you. If your leader is coming directly to you or going directly to your team lead, it's completely fine for you to step in and say, hey, boss, sir, ma'am, I completely understand where you're coming from. I understand you needing this. Come work with me. Let's talk about this. How often do you need this update? When do you need it by? Get information that way, because a lot of times what can happen is just by asking those questions and showing that you want to help, they're going to gravitate towards you then. And because if you explain to them and say, I'm here to help, I can help with this, let's let them solve the issue and I can fill you in on what's going on, then that's going to make them feel better because they know that the issue is being fixed while they're also still getting an update. So that kind of mitigates the problem, I would say. It kind of takes the force of the whirlwind off of the team and putting it more onto your shoulders. So just make sure that you have the capacity, you have the bandwidth yourself to do that without impacting the team. Make sure you still have plenty of time to remove those blockers. Make sure you have plenty of time for your planning, your grooming, your sprint planning, all your ceremony meetings that you need to do to make sure the team stays effective. So that's kind of part one. Part two, how do you actually avoid these? Well, for me, I've seen them come up enough that I can kind of start noticing my leadership kind of leaning towards wanting to get an update. So a lot of times what I'll do is use our Agile tools that we have. I'll set up very specific programs and projects in those tools for these issues. So if they want to go in and see what is the latest update, are we on track? Are things moving forward? What % complete are we? Are we going to hit the date? Do we look like we're behind on our date? A lot of Agile tools nowadays, such as Rally and Jira, can show those things. So a lot of times it's just kind of educating them on, hey, you don't need this directly from the horse's mouth. You need this from a reporting tool that we're going to update on a daily basis, because that's part of how Agile works, is the developer goes in, does their work, and either at the end of the day or at the beginning of the next day goes in and updates what they did. That's kind of part of what they do to either plan for stand-up, or they do it right after stand-up. So it's one of those things where if the leader is willing to use the technology that's there, they can gain a lot of information directly from the programs without actually impacting the tech leads or even impacting you. Now, there's going to be questions they have. If they want to know technical information, technical details, things like that, they're going to need to ask those questions, and you're going to need to field those and answer them and give them feedback. But for 80% of the questions, which are around dates and status and how much work is it going to be and things like that, that can all be handled within these tools. So I would highly recommend, if you feel comfortable and if you have a direct line to these guys, just educating them, saying, hey, take a look at this report. We have this out there. Built this specifically for you, so you can go in on a daily basis and know exactly what's going on. That's going to give you some big points with your leadership. That also, your leader can then turn around and give it to their boss, and they're going to get points there, which we talked about earlier. It's always good to make your leader look good, right? So it's kind of a win-win. It just kind of keeps cascading. And the further you can get that report up in an Agile tool, the further you're getting Agile up your chain as well. So you're helping kind of shift that mentality a little bit as well that we've been talking about, which is always a really good win. You want to make sure that you're seeing that shift, and you want to see it happening, and you want to see the leadership start to make changes in when they come to you with requests. So instead of them coming to you going, what's the status? They start asking, what's the link I can go to get the status? Is this set up yet? Because it's stuff you're doing anyway, right? So that's really my bread and butter of how I really avoid the issues. The other times that I've been able to avoid it is if I'm working directly with let's say a business partner. So somebody not on my team, but someone that relies on my product. A lot of times I've noticed my leadership wants to be the one giving them the updates. Maybe there's some political stuff. Maybe they just want to make sure that that the right message is being sent. Let your leader know, hey, I'm already communicating with these guys. I'm already sending them this update weekly, daily, bi-weekly, whatever the frequency is that's right for the program you're working on. And that might get them to calm down too and say, hey, this person's got it. I'm going to let them run with this. I'm going to let them give the report. And just make sure you include them on it. make sure you include your leaders on it. They can see where you're sending out. They can see that you're doing a great job. They can see that the team is progressing forward. They can see that the business partner is happy with the work or unhappy because they want to know what's going on. And it's kind of just a win-win that way. I mean, there's no need to have 3 or 4 people reporting the same thing out to the same 3 or 4 people that are already getting it. You really want to make sure that you're lessening that so that the whirlwind and just the craziness is as minimal as it can be. So those are really my things. I hope you guys liked the video. This is a little bit longer than my other one, so I hope you guys hung in there. If you did, bravo. If you didn't, better luck next time. But no, in all seriousness, thank you guys very much. I really appreciate it. Please leave any comments or questions you have below. I'll definitely be looking and we'll answer them. So thank you guys very much. Have a great rest of your day, and I will talk to you all later.